I visualize every morning. I sit in meditation. I visualize, where I want to go with the company, what are my purposes with the company, and where I want to be. And most of the time, it turns out pretty well. I think success is defined differently for everyone, right? And at the end of the day, if I can see that I put my best foot forward for what I was capable of that day. And I think that that's something as humans, we need to be really forgiving of ourselves, because every day is different. Our body's going to feel different every day. Our sleep is different every day. We got all sorts of other factors, affecting us in our day-to-day lives. And, how do you feel today? And what can you do to make it the best day it can be, given the circumstances?
Hi, I'm Chris Waddell. Welcome to Living It, the podcast where we join experts in the experience of being human. Be bold. Say yes to adventure. Say yes to living it. All right, welcome to Living It with Chris Waddell. I am joined today by my good friend, Missy Kelly, who is the co-founder and CEO of CatTongue Grips. We're going to get into what CatTongue Grips are, but she just has a great story about being an entrepreneur, starting a company with a product that really had a tremendous need, but then has gone in a wide variety of different directions. I mean, it seems like this is the genesis. So Missy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for being here. It's an honor. I'm excited to chat with you today.
This is going to be really fun. So I was looking at it because the whole CatTongue Grips started with your husband, Matt, who had a phone that was slipping, had a case on the phone that was slipping. So you're breaking it. So what did he put? The skateboard tape on there, like the sandpaper, basically like adhesive sandpaper. That created some issues. And
yeah.
Where did it go from there? What did you end up doing, or what did the two of you end up doing?
Well, that is what you create. You spoke about the initial part of the story is when Matt walked into a Verizon store to upgrade his phone. He just noticed how slippery it was, and he of course made a comment to the salesperson, and she tried to sell him insurance, of course, and he didn't want another bill, but the light bulb went off. And he drove to a nearby skateboard shop here in Park City, Utah, where we live. And we're originally from San Diego. So Matt grew up in the surfing culture. So he's like, skateboard grip tape, that'll solve my solution. Solve my problem. So he literally just put it on the back of his phone. And later on that day, it was that night, I said, what do you have going on here? This feels like a cat tongue and it's going to scratch every surface of my house. You can't have it on the back of your phone. And Matt said to me, he's like, I really like having a grip, but it's kind of scratchy in my pants and I am kind of worried about it. And so he challenged me to find something like it online. We couldn't. So we decided to make it. And that meant sourcing out a manufacturer and pitching them our idea. And they actually had never seen anything like it. So they decided that they would get their scientists on it and make us a product.
So in some ways, like this is your blue ocean, right? There's nobody else in the industry. You saw a need, you found a way to fill that need, but you don't necessarily have any competition. Did you recognize that in the beginning? And how did the idea of like, we're going to turn this into a business happen?
I mean, that's the beauty of it. I think when you're in it, you don't recognize any of what you just said. You're just living the day to day. We are excited about creating a material. We wanted it to feel good in the hands. We wanted it to not pick up hair, lint, or dirt. We wanted it non-abrasive because that was the key to the skateboard grip tape. And most of all, we also wanted a sustainable product that would be good for the environment. So we were able, about 8 prototypes later, it took about a year and a half. So this was in February of 2015. So it took about a year and a half to get the material right. And then we had to figure out how to print on it. And we launched our first product, the phone grip, in November of 2017. And like anything, once you launch a product, it almost takes on a life of its own, really. Because from there people said, hey, do you have bigger ones for laptops and tablets? And sure, let's create one. And then the probably the biggest turning point for us with our company is when customers started reaching out saying, hey, can I use this on my slippery tool handles? Can I cut the phone grip and do that? Can I put it under furniture? Can I use it on a water bottle? I had a woman ask me, my son has atraxia and he uses hearing aids. Can I cut it into tiny pieces so he can grip his hearing aids easier? And that was when it was, wow, okay, we have a material that people want to use for a wide variety of different things that they have trouble gripping. So that's when we created the non-abrasive grip tape. So it's our patented material on a roll that the customer can literally cut and put it on anything for which they need to get a grip.
Well, in some ways, it's kind of it's entirely different, but in some ways, it's the same kind of thing as as duct tape, right? I mean, it's like duct tape throughout history. It's like, oh well, you just fix it with duct tape, right? If you have duct tape, you can fix it. If something breaks, okay, you fix it or whatever. But this is sort of that same kind of idea, but in a totally different medium, a much cleaner medium, no residue, having grip. The cat tongue part of it. Now you said about Matt's skateboard thing that it felt like a cat tongue. Did you know, did the light bulb go off at that point that's what you were going to call this thing?
Soon after, it wasn't, we just, when we started to really go down the path of creating the actual product, yes, me naming it CatTongue Grips, that was from the get-go. We thought it was catchy, different. It's early in the alphabet was something from podcasts I'd heard is good and unique, different. And from there we went into the marketing side of creating a logo, which was in itself a whole new set of issues, I guess. And so, yeah, I think it was from the beginning. That really was, I would say, yes, Chris, that was the moment that this feels like a cat tongue and it's going to scratch every surface. And then when we first got that material, it's still a super grippy. It's not scratchy because it's not abrasive, but cats do have a tongue that is somewhat, it's scratchy like sandpaper. And maybe, I don't know how many of your listeners even know what a cat tongue feels like, but cats do have to clean themselves with their tongue. And so it's grippy and gets off debris and stuff off their fur, right? So I think if you don't know what a cat tongue feels like, most people do know that it is grippy. And so that resonates with the customer and the name.
Well, it is catchy. And that's the funny part about coming up with a new product too, right? Is that you get a name and you're like, okay, we like this. Will other people like this? That's
Right.
the challenge, right? And you sort of float it like you're thinking out loud, like, yeah, we're thinking about calling it CatTongue Grip. And people, and what was the reaction that you got from people?
Well, what was interesting, so in this journey, once we had the material, we had our first prototypes, it was before we launched, we wanted to go all in with this. So we did a focus group and we had 3 different groups of people, those who were case users, those are non-case users, and we had a millennial group. And our first logo was, and I'm getting into the logo story, I guess, it was kind of what has been now dubbed the term the scary kitty. So it was a cat face with a tongue on it coming out. And out of this focus group, people loved the product. There was no question there. Absolutely hated the logo. I mean, looks like Halloween. This is scary. What are these people thinking? And, and that's what you're saying, when you're in the weeds of your company, we kind of liked our skater style, aggressive kitty, if you will. Aggressive's kind of a soft term for what the focus group called it. And so that was what we got out of the focus group, is like, okay, our messaging is great. Our product is great. Logo absolutely was absolutely horrible. So we had to go back to the drawing board and really figure out a logo. And my other two business partners were saying, "Hey, we like the logo." And I was saying to them, "But you don't get it. We have a focus group and every person hated it. So let's listen to the focus group." And it was really interesting how they said, "Okay, but we're going to print on all this. Find us a logo in a week." I'm like, okay, I'm always up for the task. And we ended up using a company called 99 Designs. Many of your listeners might be familiar, where you put out a project and different designers from all over the world get to bid on it. And at first I was getting nothing, I was getting discouraged. And then this logo came across and I said, hmm, that one has potential, and showed it to my co-founders. They liked it too. And the scary kitty was put to rest.
But that's the hard part about creating a business too, isn't it? That you're involved on all levels, that you're creating the logo, and you might have a vision in your head of what this logo should look like. It sounds like you had a vision initially that you wanted
Yeah.
it to be skater oriented
Yeah.
and cartoony and kind of aggressive, as you said. But that can be really hard, right? The idea of like, then, okay, this one doesn't work. How do we go and create another logo? And did you know? Did you know right away when you looked at this one logo?
I did. I mean, I much of what I do is on gut. I think to be a successful entrepreneur, you really have to be attuned to those gut instincts. And it was immediate for me. I knew in my gut, this is it. And, thankfully, because we started with the phone grip, which was in the customer or the cellular industry, right? But our product has evolved to 7 different products, and we've become a gription company. So basically anything for which you need to get a grip. And it was interesting. So from the get-go, that logo, the one we have that we decided on, resonated with me, and it's universal for everyone. It's not just targeted to a specific younger market or an older market. It's universal so that it's for every person.
No, I was laughing as you were talking about getting a grip, everything you need to get it. For everything you need to get a grip. Is that what you said? But I'm
I
thinking
don't remember, but maybe
something
probably.
like that. Yes, exactly. So, but I'm thinking like, well, literally, right? So the literal grip that you can grab onto your thermos, that you can grab onto your coffee cup, and it probably works into the figurative side as well, right? I mean, can you get a grip? Is CatTongue going to help you get a grip? I guess this is some of the
We
questions.
like to say one of our taglines is "Get a new grip on life," because sometimes, especially now, I'm sure we'll talk about how our products have really become a life hack in the adoptive community. And that is something that we never dreamed our product, something so simple for my husband as solving a problem of his slippery phone could actually be a life hack and improve day-to-day living of a person's life. So that's super cool.
Yeah, no, that is definitely cool, and I want to get to that, but I want to take a step back as well, just because we've gone logo, we've gone idea, we've gone idea, we've gone logo, we've gone product, but the steps that you had to take, I mean, you said there were 8 iterations. How did you kind of wade your way through to one getting to somebody who could actually fabricate this?
Right. So having the different prototypes, we started with the skateboard grip tape. This is not what we want. We want something non-abrasive, but it still had to be grippy. So it really took trial and error to get that feel just right. And I do remember being, there was some frustrations along the way. This isn't it? This isn't it? And over and over, and then getting the sample in the mail from our manufacturer and opening it up, and my husband Matt and I looking at each other, and it was, this is it. And that was just this moment of wow. But So we have the material, but now we had to figure out how to print on the material. And that was a whole another set of issues, I would say, because we started in printing on top of the material, but that was slippery. It didn't work for us because it would take away the grip. So we figured out through many different processes how to print so that underneath, but again, so that ink would adhere and we could have the adhesive and all of the other components that go into making an adhesive grip.
Yeah, but how did you get to your manufacturer? Because I mean, and this was sort of exciting for them,
That
wasn't
was
it?
a lot of Google.
Is that
That
how it
was
was? You just sat on your
yeah,
computer and said,
yeah. My husband Matt, that was him. All looking at different people that manufacture non-slip, and a lot of trial and error there too. And finally, it- non-abrasive is not. We are the only non-abrasive grip tape on a roll available in the marketplace. So, it was really doing something new and blazing our own trail.
yeah, well, it's interesting. Yeah, because as you're mentioning that, I'm trying to think of other things that are sort of similar. Like you had like hockey tape back in the, which was sort of that sticky because it was residue basically, right? I mean, it was like some sort of glue that was the adhesive
Right.
that would stick it to it. But on the other side, you could have the sticky part of it and it lasted for a period of time and then it wasn't sticky anymore, whereas yours continues. And yeah, that's just, to me it's the interesting part of like how you have an idea and then how do you find somebody that has the ability to manufacture it and also the interest in manufacturing it, because I'm imagining you guys were really relatively small. You're not thinking, well,
Yeah.
we have
It was
accounts that they want 1 million of these, so which the manufacturer goes, okay, I can see what I can do. But
I agree. I mean, that's a beautiful thing right there, what you said, because the key there is they believed in us, they believed in Matt and I, and they believed in our vision for what we wanted to do with the product. And our relationship has been incredible ever since. So I think it was truly finding the right partner that saw what we saw and wanting to make it happen for us.
as far as the business side, what was your background that you said yours and Matt's that said, let's go into this, let's create this? Did you have a reason?
Yeah.
Was it a relatively intelligent decision for you to go into this business, or was it?
No, here's
No.
let's make it. Let's see what happens. And I mean, that is truly we looked at each other and like, let's make it. We'll figure it out. If you have, I mean, it was really if Matt has this problem, there's got to be a lot of other people that have a similar problem. So I didn't realize how many people, which is great. And but yeah, no, it was really it was naivete in thinking how hard could it be, which
And
I
how?
think was saved us because I don't know if I mean eh, 3.5. Well, I mean, from the time of launch, it's 3.5 years later. It's been a turbulent, awesome, up and down, crazy journey, right? So never could have dreamed it'd take us here to where we are and still going.
Well, I'd imagine you're excited about where you are right now. If you knew now, or if you knew then what you know now, would you have jumped into it?
Yeah, yeah, I think we would. I mean, because it's both of us have really discovered just a passion for entrepreneurship, and Matt's always been an entrepreneur. I come from an entrepreneurial family, so what was great is my husband and I have been married 23 years. And along our journey, he's come up with some ideas that I've said, I don't think that'll work or I don't know about that. Whereas with this one, it was game on, let's do it. So I was on board from the get go.
Wow. So, and part of it, so I'd imagine, I mean, you were on board from the get-go. And what was your vision when you did that? One, you're filling a need. Was it as simple as that of like, we're filling a need, or as you say on your website, you want to help millions of people? Is that
Mhm.
something that's evolved, or is that something that you thought early on?
The purpose of helping millions of people has always been the spark from the get-go. So, we launched with a cell phone grip, and there's over 6 billion people on this planet. you know I don't know that stat, but I venture, I think it's that, I don't even know, I should know the stat, Chris, but I don't off the top of my head. But think about how many of those people actually have a cell phone. Even if you're in a third world country, living, not in an urban, very rural, we're talking maybe even huts, these people have cell phones, right? So you think about how many people have cell phones. So that's millions of people of helping their phone not to slide out of their hand or in their car, on their workspace. How many people crack their screens every day, and our product from the get go, the purpose was to help prevent that. So we were always, I should say we, and I was always, that was always my purpose, is to help as many people as possible. I never knew though, as we went on this journey, or we've gone on this journey, the impact that the product could make on people. That has been a true surprise for me.
Well, it's interesting that you talk about developing countries, because everybody does have a cell phone, but a lot of places it's easier to put up a cell tower than it
Definitely.
is to lay phone line. And so everybody does have a cell phone, and it's a small little, like, here's mine, the One Revolution one on the back, which is really like the size of a credit card
Mhm.
on the back of your phone. And it sticks on my, like, for me, like getting into my car, it's one of those things that's super helpful, because I can put it on the dashboard and it'll stick on the dashboard and it won't slide off or whatever. And I can't always reach to the most safe place to put my phone, but you watch it happen, and it always happens in slow motion, right? Just the phone slipping and sliding. You're like, no, 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 don't. And invariably, then it shatters, and you think, okay, now my life has shattered. And but I think it's relatively easy for people to get into it too, right? I mean, it's not an expensive item as well.
No, no. I mean, our first product, the cell phone, 12.99. Our most expensive product is the non-abrasive grip tape at 19.99. So, yes, very affordable.
When did the idea of women's ownership come into the company as well?
That was from the get-go too. Matt, he never wanted to run the company. He kept saying, we need to find someone to run the company, and then we'd be going. And then slowly it evolved that I was running the company. And so he found that person to run the company in me. And I had a dear friend who is involved with WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And she'd said, you should really look into getting WeBank certified. You're running the company. There's a whole network of women-owned businesses that help each other, lift each other. And so we structured the company from the get-go that I would be majority ownership and would run the company.
What does WeBank look like? I mean, it's a supportive, it's an organization that provides some support. How often, or how do you meet with other people, or how are you gaining resources?
Yeah, so WeBank is a national organization, and they're a certifying agency for minority-owned business. So it's an application. You can't just say, "Hey, I'm part of WeBank." It's a process. It's an application, because they want to truly make sure you are a woman-owned business, because there are advantages, or not advantages. I would say, yeah, there's advantages to being a woman-owned business, is in that companies, larger companies, do put aside funds specifically to do business with women-owned and minority-owned businesses, really to help level the playing field out there, to give minority-owned companies a shot at the table.
And it's information, but also there are some grants as well.
Yeah, no, so the WeBank, there's different regions. And so where I am in Utah, it's WeBack West. There's there's about 7 maybe different regions associated with WeBank. And so being part of WeBack West, we have our events where we get together in person. There's also different programs, education opportunities. And then the national organization, pre-COVID, there were 2 events a year. One called the Summit and Salute, which is held at different cities around the country. And then the larger event where they have a trade show actually at it of women-owned businesses, and different corporations are coming who have supplier diversity programs. That's held once a year. So it'll be fun once the world is opening up a little bit more to be able to get together again, because the relationships I've made and even the opportunities that have been given to us have truly been fantastic.
And do you have like your mentors that you go to?
No, it's not mentored. It's more networking. It's more networking. It's more being able, a place for corporations to know that a company has been vetted as women-owned, and that they will at the events matchmake. So if a corporation is looking for a certain type of procurement, then they can be matched with a women-owned business that offers that service.
Okay, perfect. Well, that sounds very cool. And so you are a woman-owned company, an entrepreneur with an idea, and you are off and running. And what does that feel like when you are off and running? Because how many people are involved? Matt's involved in the company, still your husband. Mm-hmm. What was it? Just the 2 of you to start?
Yeah, it was the 2 of us to start. Yes, and we launched on Amazon exclusives in November of 2017 with the phone grip. And then we soon partnered with US Ski and Snowboard. We created a custom, similar to the One Revolution custom grip that you have there. We created a US Ski and Snowboard CatTongue Grip, and it happened to be an Olympic year. And they sent 300 of those to the Olympics to be included in the athlete goodie bags. And from there, companies started reaching out, hey, we'd like to brand a CatTongue Grip with our logo. So that actually opened a new channel of revenue for us, which was pretty exciting in the custom side of things.
Well, I'd imagine that that's how things start, though, right? Is that you have this great idea, you're plugging along, you get in with the US Ski and Snowboard organization and association, and all of a sudden that just changes your level, right? You go to a different level, and then people are coming to you, right, as opposed to you hanging out with your sandwich board saying, hey, we've got a great product, right, here, come join me.
And that gave us the opportunity to go to US Ski and Snowboard events and bring our tent and samples. And in the beginning, we had a Plinko board. You remember that game from The Price is Right, Plinko? So we had a CatTongue Grip Plinko board made where customers could win a phone grip. And we started noticing at these events, the line would be 20, 30 people deep of people wanting to win a phone grip. And it was pretty easy to win. So we gave out quite a few samples. And that was just proof of concept in itself, how many people were interested in the product. And then the events were normally 2 to 3 days. And then we'd have customers coming back to us, telling us how much they loved the product. So it was definitely a little of R&D at the same time early on at the events when we were first launching, to be, there is proof of concept and people love it.
And you need that encouragement, though, as you're going along, sure, don't you? That, you're like, I think we have a good idea. I hope people like it. And then when people like it, you go, okay, we are doing the right thing. We're going in the right direction.
Yeah, at first it was like, really? You like it? Cool. We like it. I'm glad someone else does too.
It is a
I'm
little-
over that shock now, 3.5 years in and, 7 products later, but it was definitely super fun in the beginning, right? Because it's not, I mean, we did it prior to COVID, so it was about 2 years. We did over 34 trade shows. So a lot of testing the market, just getting out there, talking to the customers. What do the customers want? And I mean, we have been a customer driven company from the get-go because all of our products that we've developed have been in response to the customer need and telling us what they want to see.
And you have to enjoy that part of it though, right?
I love
The
it.
trade show part, you do.
I do. Matt, for me, I love being out there, boots on the ground, talking to the customer. I love people. And for me to be out there, really hearing what the customer needs, what their wants are, how they're using the product is just, it fascinates me. Every day I learn a new way a customer is using the product. And that is just so cool. Things that I would never have thought of.
Is that how you ended up getting into the adaptive community? You mentioned this earlier.
Yes, indeed. At another event, it was Spartan. The Spartan events. They run the obstacle course events across the country, and we were at a Spartan event in Lake Tahoe in September of 2019, and actually happened to meet you at that event. And we had our CatTongue grips. We did a Spartan CatTongue grip that were in the goodie bags for the VIPs and for the VIP athletes, I should say. And we were there, and it was really interesting. I remember vividly my conversation with you, Chris, when you told me you had gotten it in the goodie bag, and you told me, crap falls off my lap all day, every day. I can really use this product. And I was thinking, that's interesting. I'd never, thought of that. When you're in a wheelchair and you're getting in a car, non-slip is extremely important. And so it was interesting because not only, it was about a month after I had met you, I was at another event and met an artist friend. She's now a friend who's in a wheelchair. And she had told me that there was an organization called the Abilities Expo, and they do about eight expos in cities across the country. And she said, you guys might think about going, and because I really think this product would do well in our community. And we went to our first one in Dallas, and that was in December of 2019. And we had no idea what to expect. We didn't even know how many people would be showing up. We just knew we had to be there. And it was one box. We had about 60 rolls of tape, and we had the phone grips, and we had the laptop grips. That was the products line that we had at the time. And we sold out of the tape in 2 hours. And it was, wow. So I had my daughter FedEx us 5 more boxes and to get us through the next 2 days. And we sold out of the product by the end of the weekend. And it was something that I really learned, that people who have to be adaptive, or people in the disability community, are incredibly creative because they have to be. They have to figure out a different way of living than an able-bodied person, because things are much harder in their day-to-day life. So they would come by our booth and see the tape, and already their brain's going, oh, I can use that there. I need it. It wasn't, what is that? Like, what would I use it on? Tell me about that. It was instant that person needed the product. And that was really, really cool to see. And then we had the same experience when we went to LA that February. And then during COVID, we participated in the virtual events, and we've just found raving fans in that community.
Well, it's funny because the dynamic you're talking about is completely the opposite. It's like you asking the customer how they plan to use your product, as opposed to you educating the customer on how to use your product.
Yeah. And we've learned every day. I mean, it's incredible. I remember you were telling me about your foot plates, and I use that to help other people, and I've learned about the tubes on a chair and telling, so when I learn, then I can educate. And it's just this amazing relationship of give and take of, this is how I'm using in the product. And then as a company, we can share that out in the marketplace and help more people.
First, I had no idea that I was the first one that I kind of started the adaptive
You
part. I
did.
had no idea.
Yeah.
That is really funny. I'm
You
glad that
did.
that's
You
the case.
you are an important part of our story for sure, because I would have not had a clue. And we talked a lot about, the different things that you would use the product on, even your hand cycle and, the foot plates and in the car and on the laptop and, your coffee mug, all these different things. And it was, wow, yeah, if Chris could use this, think about how many other people could too.
Yeah, and the laptop I think was the real eye opener for me, just to have that grip on the laptop, to be able to put it on your lap, because invariably that's the thing, like you walk around and you're holding on to your laptop,
Mhm.
whereas I'm pushing around. And so if I go around a corner, that slippery laptop goes flying off of my lap, and then who knows what happens to the laptop, and that can be a huge problem.
Right. And even with my mom, she suffers from arthritis and has hand mobility issues. And for her, she puts it on some of her nice kitchen knives, just a little bit of the tape. So she has more grip on that. Even underneath, she was one of the first people to tell us about a cutting board, putting the tape or using our gription pad under a cutting board. So when you're cutting, it's not sliding around on the countertop. And had a awesome girl. She's a roulette in Los Angeles. Her name's Connor. And she used to always cut. She's in a chair and she would always take the cutting board into her lap and cut that way because the cutting board wasn't stable. So for her, she's just become this fan of the gription pad because it's made her life in the kitchen that much easier.
It's amazing when it starts opening up your eyes, and you don't, like your mother, you don't have to grip something hard, you don't have to have grip strength, because this is effectively adding to your grip strength. It's
Mhm.
giving you that grip that's going to adhere that thing to your hands, and without being sticky. It's not like you have to go and pull
Mhm.
it out of your hands afterwards. How do you go, because you said you started with Amazon, then you started going to the expos, and you're in a variety of different locations now, right? I mean, you're in Walmart.
We are. We're launching in Walmart in 101 stores next month, actually in May. And we are launching on QVC here coming up in our air date. We haven't gotten it yet, but the product does leave our warehouse next week. So that should be coming up in the next month or so as well. And we're on the Grommet, which is an online retailer. We're in a catalog called Starcrest, which is more for the senior community, and the tape does very well in that catalog, as well as the Amerimark Healthy Living catalog. So for us, 2020 COVID for us that year was really buttoning down, getting to work. For us, we really, I think I mentioned we were at all these trade shows and we were traveling, and for us, COVID, it was an ability to be able to be home, but also be in a environment like this and Zooming with different buyers. And we were able to establish quite a few relationships last year, and now, exploring and diving into big box retail in 2021. So super exciting.
What's the relationship with the big box like? Are they like your customers, where they're telling you this is something that we need, or are they just purchasing orders? We need
You
a
know,
bunch of the cell phone ones.
I think that big box has been, so far it's been a great experience for us because they had in my meetings last year, most of the journey, and that's one thing I do like to tell entrepreneurs too, that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Relationships take time to develop, and I had met a great man named Michael Byron. He's the supplier diversity employee for Walmart, and I met him at a WeBank event, and he absolutely, loved the product. I had done a pitch. I was part of a pitch contest, and there were quite a few corporate members there. And he was in the audience, and the next morning he was at our booth wanting to learn about the product. And so from the get-go, he was a champion, loving the product. He enjoyed Matt and I. And from there, we just started that journey, and keeping in touch, sending samples. And then we did apply for the Walmart open call for our phone grips, and that was last fall, and we were chosen for the Walmart open call. And so now we're heading into Walmart with the phone grips and the laptop grips, and that will be in, like I mentioned, May. However, with QVC, it's a different product. QVC was interested in the non-abrasive grip tape, something more for, not in electronics, more do it yourself, more to help seniors and those with disabilities, and, being able to reach a wider audience than just the electronics. So it is interesting to see, different retailers, how they resonate with the different products. So it's been pretty cool to see.
What is the open call with Walmart?
Walmart, you apply. So it's an application to be able to meet with a Walmart buyer, and they take, I think, the numbers, I could be completely wrong, but I think they had about 9,000 applications, and they took about 2,000 meetings. And we were a part of that.
Then they accept the
Yeah. So then, and then you have the opportunity to meet with the buyer. It's not, we want your product. It's, you have the opportunity to showcase your product to that buyer.
Right.
So it's just, it just gets you in front of the buyer where you might otherwise not have that opportunity.
So you're applying to some really exclusive colleges effectively when you're getting in this Walmart.
Exactly. That's a good way to see it. Yeah, exactly. And we have been, so those are two. We have quite a few other big box in the hopper as well that we haven't officially onboarded though yet, but the conversations are really positive and it's looking good. So the plan is to have CatTongue grips available to anyone that wants and needs it, in every local store that they happen to shop in.
And have you watched the Jennifer Lawrence movie, the QVC movie yet?
I tried to get my family to watch it the other night, and my son, his suggestion won out. I guess we watched Fast and Furious, but but that's on the list for this weekend. So I'm super excited about it. And I love that Bradley Cooper's in it, Jennifer Lawrence. It's got a great cast.
It does, and it's a great story. I mean, it's a heartwarming story. I mean, so many of us love this sort of David and Goliath kind of story, right? The woman who's down to her last penny, or maybe past her last penny,
right?
And suddenly QVC launches her. So,
and that's not, and that is something interesting too. So I have a buyer that I have been working with, and she's part of a national big box chain. And she said to me, I love your grassroots approach. And that is, I'm one woman going after the big guys, and it's working for me so far. And I've had positive experiences, and but we're not a huge company by any means, and we have a team of 12, and we're doing what we can to get our product out there as quick as possible.
How does that happen if it does happen, right? I mean, if the QVC thing blows up, if Walmart,
when it does, Chris,
when it
does.
Well, that's my question: is are you prepared for that? Are you prepared for the?
We are.
The Spanx,
we are, which is really awesome. We actually were approached by Good Morning America about a month ago, and to be on the Deals and Steals with Tori and on the show. And what they did was they showcased CatTongue grips to a national audience. And we had an incredible day. And it just showed how being able to broadcast to a national audience, the demand and need for our product. Because when it's sold out on Good Morning America, people actually went to Amazon to buy the product, and they went to our website to buy the product. So that was super exciting. And what it showed us too is for our launch on QVC, it was almost like that trial to see where our cracks are, where we can do better in delivering and be 100% prepared for QVC. And they have purchased the product. They brought it into their warehouse. So we're excited on going on national television and again, sharing the product with the public. And not just, GMA was about a 12-second little blip, and for 8 minutes, really be able to talk about the product and how it can help people.
Right, exactly. So the manufacturing is lined up to be able to
That's ready. Yeah, we put those systems and processes in place pretty from the get-go, to be able to scale. We've had time to really iron out all those systems, and yeah, we're just about a well-oiled machine. We're just about there. We'll be there, I'd say, in about 2 weeks with everything inventory, everything up, everything ready. We have GMA was definitely an experience in how our inventory, all of our lead times to get those kinds of numbers and volumes, and to really know what, when we're talking national, where we have to be ready, and we're ready.
Is there anything that keeps you up at night?
Keeping me up at night. Actually, I'm a good sleeper. I tend to shut off my brain about 8 o'clock. I need to. I love sleep, and I kind of know how my body works that way. I go, all systems of charge in the morning and throughout my day. I tend to want to be proactive rather than reactive. So to anticipate issues that will arise. And, the one you touched on probably is keeping up with demand and inventory. And that's something we've really been able to iron out over the last few months. And if you had asked me that question 2 months ago, I would say inventory lead times, but we've got that down, and we're ready for it.
Wow. So so it's what, it's been 3.5 years?
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years that you've been working with CatTongue Grip. Is that the basis for then coaching other people? Because you're working with Pinnacle, right? And coaching
Yeah,
other people
yeah.
on being
And
an entrepreneur. And
so exactly. So Pinnacle Global Network, I work with Allison Maslin, and she's my mentor. And along with her, we have several mentors within her organization. So we actually do work with a business coach, and it's been instrumental in our success, in our growth, and being able to scale. And it's been, I have found that I really enjoy also helping other entrepreneurs and from the mistakes that I've made. And so with Pinnacle, I run a mastermind group of a roundtable, if you will, of entrepreneurs where we, discuss their challenges, and as a group, we work through and try to provide solutions from our own experiences. And it's beneficial in the way that as an entrepreneur, you're in it, you're in the weeds every day, dealing with different issues and dealing with scaling and dealing with your partners, where it's really nice to have, someone to bounce off ideas with, who has a bird's eye view of your business, can really see it in a holistic way, where at times it's harder, I think, as the entrepreneur ourselves to see it that way.
and sort of unemotional as well, right? It's just sort of,
Totally. Yes.
this is this is that. And you're like, but I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Take
It's like
that
the
part
scary
out.
kitty. Exactly. Like the scary kitty logo. No. We may have liked it, but no one else does.
And that will be a problem. You have to
Yes,
educate everybody on how to like your logo.
exactly.
What's the experience for you? Because your help, I mean, one, you have a coach yourself. Two, you're coaching people. How does that process work and benefit you as an entrepreneur too? I mean,
Yeah, I think that as entrepreneurs, we're always growing. We're always learning. I'm always reading. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm always trying to figure out ways to better myself, to improve mindset. And I think that everything that I've learned, I found I've learned a lot. And it feels good to be able to pass on, some of my knowledge to others. And if it resonates with them, great. And if they can take one nugget out of what I say that's going to help them, then that's awesome.
Does that process reinforce what you've learned as you've been working through CatTongue Grip as well?
Definitely, because day to day, I learn as much from my mastermind as I'm sure they learn from me. Right? It's all about collaboration and bouncing ideas off, and it's pretty exciting when you can think, oh wow, I didn't think of it that way, but of course, right? Again, being in the weeds, sometimes it takes that outside view to really see what you can't see, that what's right in front of you.
Yeah, and it's a challenge sometimes, isn't it, to be able to articulate it to somebody. You know what's happening, but sometimes there are gaps in how you've seen it, and you have to be able to fill those gaps in order to communicate it to somebody else.
Definitely. And I never really thought about, I mean, I take this as it comes or you hear it, but I never really thought that I had anything really valuable to share, right? I mean, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I'm pushing forward. I have my vision of where I want to go with the company, and it it's really cool to know that people do want to hear what we've learned, and what keeps me up at night, and how I deal with issues, and how I work on my mindset, and how important that is on a daily basis. And it's really gratifying to share that with people, and see that it helps.
Well, there potentially could be two sides of the interpretation of the business, right? The one
Mhm.
side could be, well, you came up with a great idea. You were lucky. You were in the right place at the right time. And then there's the other side of, well, you built this business. You happen to have a great idea, but you built this business. And where do you feel like you fit in in between those two scenarios, and how is the evolution working?
Yeah, no, I'm grateful, for this journey. That's the truth. I mean, every day, um, I think that as entrepreneurs and as humans, really, every day doors are open to us. And it's whether we are open to receive, right? And, you know, I know through this journey, it takes hard work, it takes perseverance, it takes grit, and it takes a mindset of, for me, it's focusing on my vision and not the circumstances, because the waters are always going to be choppy. I mean, yeah, you can have the smooth water, but then the waves come or little chop. There's always going to be curveballs that life's throwing at us, right? And it's how we react and respond to those. And I feel along this journey, I've definitely grown as a leader. I've grown as a businesswoman, and I've grown as a mentor to others, which is just really, really cool. It's something I never expected. And, when I started this business with Matt, I'm 48 years old. So I was 43 in my 40s, doing helping my husband in his real estate business. I was raising, and still am raising, two kids, a mom. And my life, the turn it's taken in the last 5 years, I could have never predicted. It's really cool how you just never know what's around the corner.
You don't. And I would imagine that you take pride in that part of it. I'm sure that you take pride in the idea, but in the day to day is probably
Definitely.
where you take your greatest pride, that you've had successful days without necessarily saying, we had 1 million
Definitely.
sales today, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think to have a successful product in business, it can't be just about the money, right? For me, CatTongue Grips has a greater purpose, and that is helping people in their day-to-day living. And for that, I call our business, she's a she, that she's got this mind of her own too. And and we never know what's around the corner and the opportunities that exist and where we're going next. But that's what's been so exciting for me in this entrepreneur journey is the people I'm meeting, the people I'm helping, how I'm growing, even with every challenge that presents itself, and then getting through that challenge and learning from it so that it doesn't happen again, and knowing I just grew even more as a business owner.
Is that some of what appealed to you? I mean, sort of like looking back on it, this holistic kind of approach. There's a product,
Hmm.
but the idea of helping people, the idea of growing, of being on this journey. I mean, obviously, you were on a really significant journey. Being a mom is probably the most significant journey that you could ever be on in your life, right? But this is a different and probably similar journey.
Yeah, I know, because when you're birthing, yeah, we birthed the product, right? And it is something, with the business, with the company, with CatTongue Grips, is, it's 3.5 years, and it's been, if you think of the seeds that we've been laying for the last few years, and the blood, sweat, and tears that goes in and making sure that when those little sprouts come, they're being nurtured, they're being watered, and then starting to see the bloom. And that's where we are now, are these big beautiful blooms. And yeah, and just continuing to nurture that, grow that. And but what I didn't expect is how much that I would grow as a person through this process. And that's been really cool, and ongoing, right? Ongoing.
And I'm imagining there were difficult times along the way, which
Oh yeah.
are part of it though too, right? That you
Yeah,
can't really
that's the
separate
journey.
good from the bad, and it is this journey. And in some ways, I often think that the journey is actually the reward. It sounds really strange, and it sounds like something that
It
should be, sort of new agey kind of thing. But
it
when we look
is.
back on it, we go, that's the stuff that mattered to me. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that was important, was finding my way through, was solving that problem. It gave me an opportunity to feel like I was better as a leader. I was better as a business person. Is your sense of community, have you always had sort of a sense of community? I mean, a woman-owned business, being able to help a lot of people, has that been a driving force in your life?
I've always had that aspect. Yeah, I'd say so. You know, Networking, being part of groups. I've always been active philanthropically. That's a big part of my life. I served on a board in San Diego when I was staying home with my kids, called Angels Foster Family Network, where we placed babies with privately screened foster parents. And so, yes, I've always had that desire to help, and I've always been fulfilled in the giving, right? And that's always something I believed in, is that you have to give to get. And it lights me up to be able to find a way to help others, and maybe less fortunate than I am. And because I am so grateful, and that sounds somewhat new agey too, but I am so grateful for this life living. I have a really good life. I live in Park City. I have a wonderful family, and yeah, we get our share of challenges, but that's just part of life. But I'm just grateful for what I have and who I'm on the journey with, and then incredibly grateful for this opportunity with our products to help even more people on a massive scale in a way I just never dreamed. It's really amazing.
To make it much bigger, did, where did that come from, do you think? Is that part of your DNA, that you've always wanted to help and grow and give somebody a lift up? Has that always been the case? Did you get it from your parents? Did you get it from some mentor? How did
Yeah,
that originate?
I definitely think I grew up in a home where it was important to be aware of those less fortunate and to help in the way you can, whether it's time, money, whatever it takes. You don't always have to give money. It's, giving time to volunteer. That's equally as valuable, right? So probably, yeah. And then I think over just like I said, being 48, just my husband and I love to travel, and we've traveled the world, and we've seen places in the world where I think half of America don't even know exist, right? The way some people actually live their lives and actually truthfully are happy. They just don't know. I mean, we've been in the Soweto in Johannesburg, and we actually supported a home in Johannesburg of AIDS orphans, and I took my daughter to visit there. So it's always been important for me too to show my kids that there's more than this, what you're seeing right here and what you're living right here. It's very important for, especially in today's age, for teenagers to really know that you've got it good, and for them to have a sense of gratitude.
For them to have a sense of gratitude, but you also mentioned something about seeing the happiness in people, and it's sort of, you didn't expound upon it, but it sounded
Yeah,
like some of the simplicity possibly. Is that right?
yeah, I think so. Getting up, I think that, happiness really starts with in here, right? And knowing who you are, and actually really liking who that person is, right? And I do feel that it does a lot. We live in a very fast paced culture here in the West, and in the US, and any sort of, I think, developing or I'm sorry, not developed nation. You live in a very fast pace. What you're going to get here, where you're going to get next, and it's more like what you're saying. It's less about the journey and more about the station where you're going to land, right? And I feel like when you travel and you really see other cultures where that isn't a value as much, it's more family and community and who you are here and how that resonates with those that you are working with, or living with on a daily basis. So I think that's important to travel and to see other cultures and really know that the way we live, it works for us right here, but it's not necessarily it wouldn't work for other cultures in the world.
No, I mean, I think it is a challenge, and I think it's a challenge in the US, right? Where, I mean, we live in a town, Park City, that is a lot of high achieving people.
Mhm.
And the difference between one and another is probably an incremental difference, but it's a difference. And as a result, it feels easy it feels like you might not be keeping up with somebody else, that you might be falling behind, that you need to work harder to get here, to get there, and losing sight of some of the essential elements of life, that interaction with other people, that sense of family, that sense of a sense of being as well,
Mhm.
the sense of quiet, and it can be really challenging because we can feel compelled to be on that treadmill all the time.
And that's, for me, that's something that people ask, what do you do to, stay balanced or centered? And, for me, it is that spending time with nature. I know when I'm starting, I can just about feel if I'm going to go into overwhelm. I can handle a lot on my plate, but I can get to that point where the plate's kind of, tipping a little bit. And for me, that's really saying, okay, I need to get outside. I need to go, on a hike with my dogs alone and just be in quiet with no phones, no nothing, turn it off. And just, like you said, just be for a bit in the quiet of nature, and, just with myself and my thoughts, and with nothing else to distract me. That's what definitely brings me back to center.
Is that some of, because you've learned a lot through the business. You've
Mhm.
learned a lot through your travel, through your philanthropy, through your assistance of a lot of different organizations and different entities. Is that what you're teaching your children?
Trying to, yeah, definitely.
They're
I think,
teenagers, so that's
yeah, both of them, they're alpine ski racers, both of them. And they, I think, teenagers today just live in a completely crazy world, right? Which we can't even begin to understand with, the technology and the Snapchats and the this and that and whatnot. And for them, definitely, because I can see, for both kids, they're different. I mean, my daughter, she's very high achieving and puts a lot of pressure on herself. And I can start to see when she's tipping a little bit. And she spends a lot of time, or at least pre-COVID, she'd volunteer at Nuzzles and Co., which is our pet rescue. And for her, that was probably one of the only places where she didn't feel in competition, either with herself or with her teammates or in school or whatnot. It was just for her being with the animals and helping them and taking care of them. That was it for her, right? And I recognized that early, and I could see when she'd start to vibrate and spin a little bit, it'd be like, why don't we see if there's a shift at Nuzzle so you can go. And she'd go, and then she'd come back just a totally calmer, different person. So that was really cool to see. And with my son, I really see that him with his friends do that for him.
what's your daughter's nickname?
Oh, well, her name is Ava, and because she was, she's always been somewhat little, and so her nickname was Peanut for a long time. But she's very, she's a mighty mite, let's put it that way. And so it used to be Spicy Peanut, and then as she's gotten older and not quite as little, still little though, but she's the Spicy Tiger.
Spicy tiger. The
Yeah.
spicy tiger. Okay, so this is grounding of the spicy tiger. The
Yes. Bringing her more to the kitty level, right?
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's sort of like a film transformation, right? She's a spicy tiger out there, and then returns to that tiger striped
Exactly.
mustache. So,
Exactly.
how about some of the other things that you're doing? I mean, it's kind of interesting just how you end up in places, right? So working with Aspen Magdalene, which is, can you describe what that is and how you ended up getting connected with them?
Yeah, that's a new connection with me. So the Aspen Magdalene House in Salt Lake City, they are to support victims of human trafficking. And what is crazy to me, the stat, I had no idea that Utah is one of the states with the highest incidence of human trafficking. So that was pretty eye-opening for me. And um, a business colleague of mine asked if I wanted to serve on an advisory board for the newly formed Aspen Magdalene House in Salt Lake. And for me, before I dive into something, I want to learn about it, read about it, know a little bit more about it. And I was pretty shocked at those statistics. So helping them get their marketing message out and just get established. And it's been gratifying so far.
So human trafficking and sexual exploitation, right? And
Right.
it, I don't feel like we feel like that would happen sort of in our
No, and it
backyard.
happens to men and women too. That's what's interesting. It's not just happening to women, it's happening to men as well.
And it sounds like a big part of what you're about is creating an environment in which people can thrive.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to say it. But yeah, I'd say that you captured that well.
Well, I've been trying to listen as we've been talking,
Yeah, paying attention there.
We're talking a lot.
But yes, no, thank you. That's something I would say is definitely true.
And so this is certainly a group of people. It's 8 to 10 women who are at the house at any period of time, right? And
Right.
it gives them that opportunity to recover. It gives them that opportunity to learn a craft, learn an
And
application.
it's a safe place, right? It's a safe place where, when you've been through that kind of experience, there's all sorts of emotional and traumatic things that have happened. And I think it gives them a safe place to, like you said, to recover.
to recover, but then also to be safe when they leave.
Right. And to have, and I think that that's the majority. I think all of us just, in any endeavor as humans that we take, it's important to have support, right? And I think that that's what appealed to me with this organization is they're offering support to victims that really the majority of, I'd say, Utahns don't even know that this exists, right? So it's a support network, and I think that that's what you mentioned, like with coaching, that's a support. And even for my own business, I need support through mentorship. I think as human beings, whether you're recovering from trauma, you're starting a business, you're a kid that feels lost, we all just need some sort of support, and someone to lean on and know it's going to be okay.
Right. And especially in those most vulnerable moments.
Mhm.
I was speaking at one point recently with someone who was the victim of domestic abuse and was leaving, and she said that when you leave that relationship, the 2 weeks afterwards are when you are most vulnerable. And there's probably, a corollary to so many other parts of our lives. It's probably not exactly similar, but that transition is often when we are most vulnerable as well.
For sure, for sure. No,
Yeah.
my daughter Ava and I like to volunteer down at the Youth Resource Center down in Salt Lake City. And it's a resource center for it's homeless youth. And the majority of those kids have aged out of the foster system. So once they're aged out, they really don't have anywhere to go. They don't have support. They don't have money. A lot of them haven't learned skills for a job. And that's what the Youth Resource Center does, is provide that. And that's what appealed to me again with the Aspen Magdalene House, is providing resources for these people that don't necessarily, I mean, like a chunk of their lives have been taken from them, right? And they don't have the resources, they don't have skills. They have skills, they just don't know what they are. So they haven't been able to discover what it is, what trade, or what kind of job, what kind of passion they have. So it is that opportunity to discover and have that support to help them make it happen.
Yes. And it sounds like in some ways it is that you're helping them to recognize their value. Is
Mhm.
that fair?
I think that's very fair. Yeah.
One of the things, I mean, it's funny to talk to you because talking to you, it all sounds relatively easy. I mean, it sounds like, you kind of had an idea and you went through and you did this, and it's all working out great and everything's going in a great direction. But I think that part of that is based on how you attack your problems. You and I connected at Squaw Valley, right? In September. It was right around my birthday. So my wife flew out, Jean flew out, and we celebrated my birthday there. But we were talking about the idea of fear and how the role that fear can play in our lives.
Mhm.
What is the way that you interpret fear? How does it benefit you? How is it a detriment? What's your relationship with fear?
I heard Sarah Blakely, founder, owner of Spanx, say it really well, and this is something I live by: is courage is not courage is not the absence of fear. It's action despite fear. And for me, that's something I live by. I laugh, and you'll know when I say it. It's living in the uncomfortable zone. And for me, everything I have done, I'd say, from the moment we launched this product, and maybe I could even go further, but we'll go with the moment I launched this product. Everything is new, everything is different, everything is uncharted waters. So, is there fear? Yeah. You know, when we started, is this going to work out? Are people going to like it? Now it's, wow, this is happening, right? And even being on a podcast or like what we're doing now, is there some yeah, at the beginning it's uncomfortable, you're like, oh, and then we just settle in, you're like, oh yeah, this is okay, right? And I don't think you can grow as a person without putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions. It's very easy to live just comfortable, right? But how boring is that? You got to be able to step out and challenge and fall on your face if necessary. I mean, one hilarious story, and I don't think this had even happened. Actually, it probably had happened when I met you. And I mentioned meeting supplier diversity representative Michael Byron, and how I met him was I did a pitch contest it was a WeBank pitch contest to over, I think there was about 300 corporate people in the room, and I had my 90-second pitch, and I was wearing a wrap dress, and I walked up to the stage to do my pitch, and I'm in the middle of it, and I glance down and I see that the bow has come undone of my dress, and I literally looked down, and of course, distraction, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how is it is it going to open? Like, all this stuff going through my mind. And I completely spaced my pitch, and I stopped, and then I somehow threw sentences together. It wasn't what I had. And I walked off the stage, and my husband later on asked how to go. I'm like, I bombed that. Oh my God, it couldn't have gone worse. I thought my dress was going to open. I forgot everything I was going to say. I don't even know if I made sense. I mean, I was just like, wow, did I just bomb that? Hilarious. The next morning, Michael Byron is at our booth at 8 a.m. I saw your pitch. I go, oh gosh, you did. I go, don't. And he's like, no, I don't think it was as bad as you thought, but I'm curious about your product. So something I thought as an absolute complete failure, right, wasn't as bad as I thought. Nothing ever is, right? I mean, unless you're dead, it can't get any worse. I mean, it can get worse. You can be dead, is what I'm trying to say. But I mean, there's always something to come out of it, right? And for that, now from that relationship, actually that bombed pitch, we're now going into Walmart next month, right? So there's a gift in what I thought was a complete failure. And I guess that's what I'm trying to say is, was that uncomfortable? Heck yeah, it was. But it all ended up being okay, right? And I think that I always say to myself when I'm doing new things or putting myself in new situations, what's the worst that can happen? They can say no, you can fall on your face, you can get up, and then you can just try again.
And is that the message that you tell other people? Because the thing is, you totally got the speaking part wrong. Like, you're supposed to imagine the audience in their underwear. You're not supposed to be
Totally.
in your underwear.
Totally. Thankfully, it was all fine. But it was just that thought, that distraction, right? And that, blank. I mean, standing up there on the stage and just having a complete blank, that had never happened to me before.
But it's something you could use too, right? I mean, this is like the honesty of the whole thing can be the most powerful part sometimes, to be like, can you hold on 1 second? Because I think there's a possibility that my dress is going to open up, and I think you would have their attention.
Yeah, totally. Hold on, let me put this mic down and fix this. Yeah. And then it was literally, like I said, it was a 90-second thing. You have your light going where, the green lights where you're going, and then it starts flashing. So there's this time constraint, and it's more of a high pressure situation. So yeah, and I didn't know how I was going to react. And I guess I got enough information in my pitch to capture the interest of a Walmart exec. So that was pretty cool.
Is that the message that you tell other people? I mean, because the thing is, one, we're talking about business right now, but we're also talking about real life. And you talk about starting your business and not knowing anything. Everything is brand new.
Yeah, I didn't go to business school.
but even like somebody who's changing their diet, like it can be absolutely exhausting to go to
Yeah.
the supermarket and buy things that are totally different than what you usually buy. You're on autopilot half the time. You're like, oh, that seems good. That seems good. Okay, hold on. I can't do that. I've got to go buy this. What is that? What is this thing that I'm looking for? What's the, what's the advice that you could give somebody who wants to create a change? Because effectively, that's what you did.
It's really taking action, just waking up every day and taking action. And whether it be, if you're trying to change your diet, it's okay. I want to eat less sugar, but I think you have to. I think you have to be self-forgiving too, right? And knowing that you're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. You're human. So one day, if you're wanting to change your diet, you eat great, and the next day you're eating every cookie and cake that you can find. You just being forgiving, and that's even losing weight and going to the gym, right? And getting that, taking action, getting up and heading to the gym, and maybe you don't feel like it. And that's with business too. Like, every day is a new day. It's a new opportunity to start new. And someone said this to me recently. Oh, let me see if I get this right. Is it is it is it just another day, or is it one? I don't know. I think I'm gonna mess it up. But anyway, it's that fact of thinking that, today's day one. Every day is an opportunity for day one. The past happened. You can't go just,
Change it.
revel in it, right? You can't change it. It happened. What you can change is today, and what you can live in is this moment. And I try really, really hard to be mindful of present moment and not get too caught up in what the future holds or the mistakes we made in the past, and just do what I can today to push my company forward, to be the best mom I could be, to be the best wife I could be, to be the best friend I can be, because we all make mistakes and some days are better than others. But what can I do today that makes that right?
What's the manifestation of the action? Because you say it's about action, right? It's taking action.
Mhm.
What do you get back from the action, from taking action?
For me, I get back. I mean, I think success is defined differently for everyone, right? And at the end of the day, if I can see that I put my best foot forward, and sometimes it's not very, it's my best foot might be a half inch, right? Some days it's leaps. But as long as you're trying to put your best foot forward with the actions you take for the given circumstances of that day, right? Recently, my dogs were in the hospital for 4 days. It was kind of crazy. They're fine now. They're great. But those were really tough 4 days. And, and it was what can I do I can't change what's going on with them. I can just hold them, that they're in a healing space and they're going to get better. But it's, my sleep wasn't good, but I put my best foot forward for what I was capable of that day. And I think that that's something as humans, we need to be really forgiving of ourselves, because every day is different. Our body's going to feel different every day. Our sleep is different every day. We got all sorts of other factors, affecting us in our day-to-day lives. And, how do you feel today? And what can you do to make it the best day it can be, given the circumstances?
And does that create some momentum when you're able to do that?
For me, it does, for sure. I mean, I visualize every morning. I sit in meditation. I visualize, where I want to go with the company, what are my purposes with the company, and where I want to be. Or, if I have a big meeting, or I have a interview or whatnot, just visualizing what I want that outcome to be. And most of the time it turns out pretty well.
You're tapping into some really important stuff, I think, for all. I mean, it's the same thing that you'd tell to your kids. Your kids are alpine ski racers, and ski racing is a super challenging sport in that you have to be completely committed in the start. You don't know for sure how everything's going to go. You know, this is when all of your demons come to you. It's when your insecurities, your lack of preparation, you're never going to be perfectly prepared, but you have to be completely committed to whatever preparation you have. And part of it is this sense of visualization, right? Is visualizing it. I was reading something about Michael Phelps, and his coach said that he is the best visualizer of any athlete that's out there. And his coach would actually sabotage him at times, where he went to a big race and his coach stole his goggles at a big race. And was like, well, there you go. You know, like, you can't see anything, like, go ahead. And he would make it more difficult for him. He'd make it so that he missed his meal beforehand. He'd create these problems, because at some point you're going to encounter those problems. And it sounds like a lot of what you're talking about is the same kind of thing, is that this visualization is visualizing the potential problems that might arise during the day.
Yeah. And I think it's what I touched on earlier, is just your mindset, right? Are you glass half full? Are you glass half empty? If you're empty, what can you do to get to half full, right? It's about,
Because that's
really,
your job.
yeah.
Your job is to get there.
Yeah, as all of us are, right? And so I feel like that mindset element to everything in life, whether you're an athlete, you're a business owner, you know, you're a philanthropist, anything, you're really having to hold that vision for where you want to go. And it's similar to what I said earlier, holding, for me, I hold the vision and don't focus on the circumstances, because circumstances are just, they can be high, low, all around, right? That's this journey we're on. But staying steady in the vision and unwavering in your commitment to the vision. And that's what I am. I'm unwavering in my commitment to take this business, this company, as far as I can take it, and help as many people as I can along the way. Whether it's new products or figuring out different ways to use the product or whatnot, but just really staying committed to my purpose.
And that's the ultimate victory, isn't it?
Because it's not easy, right? It's not easy.
No, because you can have expectation victories, right? That you're going to sell millions and millions and millions. You're going to be, the Nike of adhesive grips
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you are the genre. So I can't even put it into a genre, right? I mean, you are it right now. But the commitment to your vision is really, it's similar to what you were talking about with the journey, isn't it? That if you're committed to the vision, you stay committed to the vision, as these outside forces are trying to bump you off your commitment to the vision, then you're successful. That's the definition of a successful day, it sounds like.
Yeah. And I think it's that seeing it, believing it, and receiving it, right? And I think that's something that I can be better at. And my coaches have worked with me on, is celebrating the successes, celebrating the wins. My mentor likes to call it the mini feats in a day. It might not be this huge win, but they're mini feats that have to occur to get the big win, right? And it's being able to not be on to the next thing, but really celebrate, okay, that was big, great. Take it in and then move on. I think that sometimes I have a hard time doing that.
How does that help you for the next day, celebrating those mini feats?
Yeah, because then you're even more pumped up, right, to get going. And it's time. Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's in the athletes world too, right? Is celebrating those mini successes. You being as an athlete, all those steps to take to win that race, right? It's all for so many athletes, it's about winning the race. But what about all the little steps along the way? And maybe it's not winning the race, but the wins along the way to not win, right? That's a whole nother tangent.
It really is. This has been awesome, Missy. Thank you so much. How can people find you, how can they find your products?
Well, CatTongueGrips.com is probably the best place to go. Products are there. You can read about us. We are going to be in Walmart. We're testing in 101 stores next month. QVC, you can look for us on QVC on the non-abrasive grip tape. Something exciting about that product is we're offering it antimicrobial now. So that'll launch on QVC. So CatTongueGrips.com. And yeah, this has been amazing. I've enjoyed the conversation. I can't believe it's been an hour and a half. That's crazy.
Well, thank you. Well, you have so much great stuff to offer to so many people. So thank you. And just so cool what you guys are doing and how this originated, how you ran with it, and how you're affecting the lives of so many people. So one, thank you for joining us, but also two, thank you for everything you're doing for so many other people.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot, especially coming from you. And it's been an honor to be here for sure.
Wonderful. Well, we'll get you back again when you get new products or whatever, or taking a new journey. We'll definitely continue this conversation. To all of you who've been listening, thank you so much for joining us. The greatest compliment you can pay us is telling your friends. Follow us, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the usual suspects. If you can follow us, if you like us, this will help us continue to grow and hopefully reach more and more people with great stories like Missy's. So thank you all, and thank you, Missy.
Thank you, Chris.
Take care. Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to Chris Waddell Living It for more stories on the adaptive community, the Paralympics, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, experts in the experience of being human. Also follow us on Spotify, Apple, Facebook, and Instagram. I look forward to seeing you next week.